Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me. Thank you very much, as always. And today, it gives me great pleasure to welcome along another brilliant actress who's made headlines around London recently, and that is the brilliant Flora Dawson. Let's take a moment to introduce Flora and her work. So, she trained at Arts Ed, studied there for 3 years doing musical theatre, and has appeared for many, many things. For film, she has appeared in Judy, directed by Rupert Goold, who's done a lot of theatre as well as film around London, and of course the Globe, Streetdance the movie, and for TV, Malory Towers series 1, 4 and 5 for the BBC, and Geek Girl on Netflix. And for theatre, she's done so much stuff. For musicals, Singin in the Rain at the Chichester Theatre and West End, Kiss Me Kate at the Welsh National Opera, Funny Girl and A Wonderful Town, and plays The American Clock at the Old Vic alongside Christian Patterson, who's also been on here as well, Macbeth with the Players Theatre Company, the 47th at the Old Vic, again directed by Rupert Goold, which was understudy to the lady playing Ivanka Trump. Of course, it's a play about Donald himself. Suddenly last summer at the English Theatre Frankfurt alongside Katie Matzel, again previous guest. Stranger Things, The First Shadow, West End, directed by, of course, the brilliant Justin Martin and starring Mike Gibson, again another two previous guests, and currently understudying the fantastic Rosamund Pike in Inter Alia and the someone could call it a sequel actually to Prima Facie, but in some ways it's in the same world, but it's still a very much standalone piece. Inter Alia, written by Suzie Miller, currently at the Wyndham Theatre in the West End, before later this year making its journey across the pond to Broadway. And of course, it started at the National Theatre last year, where Flora was brilliantly waiting in the wings to see if Rosamund fancied an off night, but she just recently did her own understudy show in London recently, and we will talk about that in a bit more detail later on, as well as again, another brilliant piece by Suzie Miller. But until then, Flora, welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
How you doing?
Very well, thanks. Yeah.
Very
It's a bit of a grey day in London today after a very sunny bank holiday, but it is lovely to be speaking to you.
Oh, well, it's lovely to speak to you too. Yeah, and welcome to the UK, everybody. This is what our weather's like.
Yeah, on May Day.
I know, bank holiday, you think, yes, sun, but
Not today.
nah, we're used to it now, aren't we? We're just used to the up and down scales of it.
Indeed.
So, anyway, we start at the beginning. So, in your case, Flora, where did it come from? The love of acting, musical theatre, plays, being in this business, where did it come from?
My mum is very creative and artistic, and so she sent us to ballet when we were really young. My sister is 18 months older than me, so when she started ballet at like 3.5, I was 2. I just went along, and then that I danced with that same dance teacher until I left to go to Arts Ed 18 years later or something. So yeah, I did a lot of dancing growing up, a little bit of singing, not very much acting. I was part of an amazing dance school called Harlequin Stage School, who, with them I won all England dance competitions and had the most amazing experiences, learned so much, not just dance, but about who I am and how to, behave out there in the world. That's where I learned all of my sort of professional skills was dancing. And then I think, well, about 11, I realized ballet wasn't going to happen for me. I was too tall, my feet weren't good enough, my turnout wasn't good enough. And I didn't get into the Royal Ballet School, which I'd had my heart set on my whole younger life. Then it was like, and then I thought, okay, well, what am I good at? And now I look back, I see that it was like acting through dance was my strongest thing. And in dance competitions, there's a section called the character dance. And I'd always do most well in those sections, which now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, it's because I wanted to be an actor. And that was my way of telling a story, Dance always tells stories, but that section, is the most obvious one where I'm like, I had like a solo where I was a little poor urchin in Victorian London and I was stealing loaves of bread, and I got to the All England finals with that. And yeah, I can't remember some of the others, but yeah, I sort of see it now looking back that was the little actor trying to get out. But I always sort of was a smiley sort of big performer. And, you know, what I lacked in maybe technical skill, I made up for in like musicality and performance. So yeah, I was sort of set for the musicals, I think. And then a girl a couple of years older than me called Hollydale Spencer, who were very similar. She's sort of a tall, blonde, showgirly, tappy dancer, excellent actress. She went to Arts Ed, and I remember going to see one of her shows and thinking, "Oh God, okay, yeah, no, I want to do this. I want to be exactly like Holly." And then I got into Arts Ed, and all the teachers were like, "Do you know Hollydale Spencer?" I'm like, "Yeah, we trained at the same dance school." So yeah, it was always Arts Ed. I auditioned other places, but I always knew if I got into Arts Ed, I'd go to Arts Ed. And yeah, and that sort of, then I kind of was opened up to this world. I sort of knew about 5 musicals, the ones that had made their way on tour up to where I live. And then I got to Arts Ed, and you know, people were talking about all these names of composers and shows on Broadway and stuff that I just had no idea about, because we are talking sort of pre-social media here. And you know, the only way is if you could go and see these shows in London, and I'd never seen anything in London apart from Fosse when we were doing one dance competition. So yeah, I just had my mind blown with all of these different. I didn't know who Sondheim was. I sort of knew that there was a guy that wrote co-wrote with Leonard Bernstein on West Side Story, but I only really knew of West Side Story in a dance capacity. So yeah, I just had this amazing education in musical theatre, and left there sort of on the trajectory of, I think there was a write-up in the Stage about our showcase, and it was like, if you want the epitome of like the all-American showgirl or something, look no further than Flora Dawson. And that was like basically what my career was for a long time. Being tall and sassy and dancing and doing some tap. And yeah, I got to do all of the musicals and shows that I just all loved and wanted to do. And then once I'd done them all, I was a bit like, oh, now what? Because I was quite realistic about my like where I sat in the industry. I could do funny, and I could do sort of sexy showgirl, but I was never going to be your Elphaba. I was never going to do a big sort of commercial contemporary musical. I don't have the voice for that. And so I was like, oh God, I've got to wait now, probably about 20 years until I can play the older ones in all of these old-fashioned musicals. So I was like, what do I do? And I almost gave up. I was so ready to give up. And then the Old Vic needed somebody who could play up and play down, cover up and cover down in age, and who could dance. And I got that job, and it changed everything. Didn't do another musical, just been on the plays train ever since, which is a huge gift. And I am so lucky and so grateful that they decided to do the American Clock in 2019 because it changed my life.
Yeah. No, I remember seeing. I went to see that actually, and yeah,
did you?
I did. Yeah, I sat. It was one of my first experiences. Sat in the stalls, like quite near the front of the stage, because that's not usually my favorite place to sit. I like to sit either, like, I'm a dress circle guy. I can't complain. I have to say. Although if I have to sit in the stalls, fine. You know, especially if it's something I want to see, you know, you still get to see it. But yeah, I remember that. That was, of course, that's an Arthur Miller play, isn't it?
Yeah, a lesser known one. But Rachel Chavkin kind of turned it on its head, and
very much.
You know, people had nice things to say and not so nice things to say about that production, but I just had it. It blew me away. I've never felt like that about a job before. We rehearsed like 2 hours from where I lived, because I was living in West London. For some reason, we were rehearsing in Here East, the other side of Stratford, East London. And I leapt out of bed in the morning. I would run to the train station. I was so excited every single day to be doing that job. The people I was working with, like, who are now like an actress called Claire Burt. Do you know of Claire Burt? She's
rings a bell.
Pedigree, sort of musical theatre and straight actress. She sort of took me under her wing and gave me this amazing education in being a more mature woman in this industry, and So it was just the most wonderful experience, and I learned so much. Yeah, it was magical.
Yeah.
It really was.
It really was, because like you go to Arthur Miller and you expect a brilliant but very dense evening in the theatre, and there's so much there. But I remember that, and it was just all these. You're right. It was Miller, but turned on its head in a
Yeah.
weird and yet wonderful kind of way. You know, it was.
Live jazz trio on stage and
Yes.
loads of movement. And yeah, I think, like, it's not necessarily our history, it's America's history of the Depression and things, but it's so
Mm,
relevant, especially in sort of 2018, 19.
mm,
And getting to tell a story about struggles of, I'm sure we'll come to this, because I feel very strongly about how theatre can change people's lives, but it felt very important that we were telling that story to an Old Vic audience as well.
mm,
Because it's not your normal commercial theatre audience, not even normal West End audience.
yeah.
There's a lot of privilege there, and it wasn't lost on me that we're sponsored by banks in that theatre, and then we're telling this story about the collapse of all of that
1929. Yeah.
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 And I was sort of like, this is so important. Not only am I having time in my life, but I'm telling a really important story, and it just felt amazing. And no disrespect to musicals, because I think there's a huge place for those. And my God, do we need that? But then getting to sort of with a play tell that kind of story, I was like, oh, something clicked in my soul. I was like, I need to do plays, and I need to tell stories that I really care about, which I've been so lucky to be able to do.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, it goes to show. I mean, again, it's a verbal motif that I have on this show, which is theatre, when it's done right and when it's done brilliantly, we change the fucking world. I'm going to keep saying that, and people go, I'm very aware I repeat my stories on here, repeat stuff like that, but it's all relevant, and but it's absolutely true. This is what theatre, and of course film as well. Of course, film has the same effect, because it's reaches the masses, etc. But if we're very lucky to be able to go to the theatre and we see a story play out in front of us, like Inter Alia, The American Clock, Prima Facie, I've said it again, but it's that's what theatre does. When you leave the theatre, because I think I'm not sure how I feel about this, to be honest, but I think there's an actress called Denise Gough who's done a lot of amazing things. People, Places, and Things, Angels in America, lot of stuff on TV as well. She says, my least favorite reaction to an audience when they walk out the theatre is when people go, meh. And then it's like, I hate that. I would much rather people walk out going, oh my God, that was the best thing I've ever seen. Oh my God, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. Because at least
because of X, Y, and Z, having some feelings about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I'm sure you've had this experience as well. When you walk out of a play and you just go, oh, what do you think? Yeah, I mean, at its moments, but yeah. Anyway, who's hungry?
Where are we going to go for a drink?
Yeah, and then it's forgotten about just like that. But then with shows like this one again, which we'll talk about Inter Alia later, when you go into the bar afterwards, or you're on the train home or something, or at dinner or wherever you are, and you just sit there in utter silence, or you just go, oh my God, I remember this happens, that happens to this person. Anyway, I've got a couple of stories for you, which I'll tell, which we'll get into later with Inter Alia. But just going back to your training, just for one second. So you went to Arts Ed again for 3 years, like I said in the intro. I mean, how were those 3 years?
They're really hard. They really were. Most of my friends from school in fact, all of my friends went to university, and they were doing, short days of a lecture or two and just having so much fun. And I guess that's what I have to thank my dance training for, but we just slipped into, I don't know, 10-hour days of so much dancing. I'd have loved a little bit more acting. I think it is different now, actually, because we are talking over 20 years ago. But yeah, just a lot of hard work and dedication, and passion and but also loads of fun. And I met some wonderful, but my best friend from Arts Ed is still my best friend. And a very, very good friend of mine, Sam, who's from America. We're still very much in touch. And I've been to visit him. He's been to visit me plenty of times. Like I've got some like proper lifers from friends from drama school. And I think you go through such a unique experience that everyone came up against massive challenges. You know, we don't need to go into it, but like dance training is really hard on mentally, physically. You know, people struggle with how they feel about their body, and you know, there's so much trauma, especially back then, that happens in those places. And I just feel really lucky that I had a real core, brilliant group of friends from there. I think I sort of sailed a bit under the radar, and I'm grateful for that at drama school, because I wasn't a favourite. I didn't have the best voice. I wasn't the best dancer. I wasn't going to graduate into the lead in Les Mis ever in a million years. And so, yeah, I sort of just managed to keep myself to myself, worked really hard. I got an agent before the showcase, so I didn't have any sort of stress about anything. And I just sort of, I feel grateful for that as well, that it didn't have to get as competitive and stuff as it probably maybe did for some other people. But yeah, there's still quite a few of us from my year still going, which is pretty cool. I know it, like, obviously it's a ridiculously hard industry, but yeah, there's still a good few of us, and we've all gone so many different directions as well. But I felt very lucky at the time to have the teachers that we did, and I sort of, my finger's not really on the pulse anymore, but at that point, it very much felt like Arts Ed was churning out loads of people that were just going straight into work and doing great stuff. So I feel really lucky to have been in that world. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, I think with musical theatre, like courses, I mean, you know, people like they leave there and then straight away, like first cover of Marius in the West End, or their understudy of Cosette, you know, and it feels like they can find work instantly, you know, which, you know, credit to them as well. You know, they're amazing roles, but yeah, but it's interesting what you said there about, you know, it is I mean, it's sort of in retrospect now, I think when you're at drama school, I don't know if you had the same experience, but when you're in that washing machine sort of experience, like every day, like you get up nice and early, make sure you have a shower, make sure you've got all your stuff for the day, then you get into your stage blacks, which you wear all day. You wear the same color all day, every day, 5 days a week. And then when you sort of like when you come home and then you just let it all go. But when you're in that moment and you realize you're showing yourself to your colleagues and to your peers and your teachers and your friends that are in the room as well, you know. And I think in retrospect, you look back and you think, wow, that was quite I mean, to call drama school a vulnerable experience for everyone, I think is a big understatement.
Big time.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so young as well. Like, and I think back to like some of the negative things I was told. Like, I remember in third year, someone told me I wasn't sexy and I would never. I couldn't. We were dancing, but it's just so unsexy and all this kind of stuff. And I held that. I carried that feeling for years. Like, I'd get in a Chicago audition and I'd be like, well, I can't do that, can I? That's the epitome of sexy. Like, you know, like it defined me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I sort of think back now, and I always feel the weight and the privilege if I'm ever asked to go and talk to students, because I think about like those things that I was told that I took to heart, rightly or wrongly, when I was studying, that I just think, God, you have to be so careful with these vulnerable little minds and hearts that you're not going to just stamp on anything. I'm sure that nowadays it's probably a bit better.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For mostly the better, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
But we were so vulnerable, and I saw people having to deal with much harder stuff said to them than was ever said to me, and it broke some of them, and they left London, they left the industry, and I just think, oh, was that necessary? My brother's a dancer, and he wrote his dissertation while he was at Rombet about like how useful it actually is to be so hard on young performers. Oh, how much better do they perform if you encourage and you give them more positive and constructive criticism rather than making them feel shit about themselves, and you got better results from being nicer to people. Which is important and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You remind me of I've had a few people on here who had trained at Lecoq in Paris.
Oh wow, yeah.
And actually with the man himself, and before he passed on, and like they would do this thing, and he was very, very cutthroat, very straight to the point, and he would go, and they'd finish a thing, and they go, okay, so what do you think? Well, I've seen my nan do better, and you're just like. And even sometimes when you did something that was brilliant, he'd go, okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Does that okay mean we have something to work on? Did you enjoy it? Oh,
yeah.
It's a freaking minefield, isn't it? But
it is. And I'm like,
yeah.
On one hand, I am grateful for the resilience, because I don't know who. Maybe I wouldn't still be here if I hadn't had to build up such a thick skin and such resilience to no's and you're shit, you're not good enough, you can't sing well, all of those things. I don't know. Maybe that's part of why I've lasted so long. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something made me stick at it. I'd graduated and I didn't work for years. And there were periods in the middle where I didn't work for years. So
never give up. Never give up.
No. Not if you really want it.
Exactly. Yeah. I know a few people who I remember speaking to a few on graduation day because I went to GSA, and I went to speak to a few of them. We hadn't seen each other for about 4 or 5 months. And then I would say to people like, how's it going? How's it going? I remember some people like, yeah, well, I've been up for this, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll speak to a few other people where they just go, yeah, it's been, and then I remember one person saying to me, yeah, I didn't realize just how tough this would be until after I left. And it was like, yeah. Now, I don't mean for this to be like a Debbie Downer, guys, if you're watching or listening, because, it is possible. It's very much possible. Yeah. But it's true. It's true. Unfortunately, we go through these dry spells, and sometimes where we have to shake off things that a tutor once said to us, and we just go, okay, right, well, but it's okay. What do they know? And, you're more powerful than you think, you're more talented than you think, and just keep going. Keep going. Yes, it's tough, but that's when, what's that phrase? It's like diamonds grow brilliantly under pressure, or something like that. From pressure, you get diamonds. So that's it.
Oh my God. Well, that feels sort of like a metaphor for my most recent 3 months.
I'm sure you're not alone on that one. But just before we get into your work, so just one last question about your training. So what would you say was the difference between yourself on day one of Arts Ed to the last day, like graduation day?
I actually think not a huge amount. Compared to the journey that a lot of my peers went on.
Right.
And that's something I look back and I go, oh, if I knew what I know now back then, I would have tried to go to straight acting school, because my dance didn't really improve that much. Like my dance was at such a good level when I went to Arts Ed that there wasn't a huge amount more I could do to improve. I was just maintaining and maybe learning, repertoire from shows and stuff. But I wish my acting had been pushed more than it was. And I wish that I'd been singing in a different way, like with a more specific view to what I was going to do when I graduated. I kept my singing lessons were trying to take me down a route that I was never gonna be a belter. I was never gonna do those things. I should have just known. You need a legit sound flow, and you're gonna, or you need your comedy songs for your auditions. You need your all this kind of stuff that ended up getting me into jobs. So, and that's not to say I was amazing when I started. I just don't think I changed that much as a performer. As a person, massively. Like I learned complete independence. I worked probably 3-4 shifts a week every week throughout drama school. It killed me, but my God, I learned how to survive, which set me up brilliantly for the dry spells. I met people through those out of work jobs, the things outside training, outside performing, that have maintained me. My friend runs a restaurant that I started working in 2010 or something, and I go back there whenever I need to earn some money. And she will always take me back, and it's amazing. I feel so lucky that I have that. Not everyone does. And it's just sort of like a tiny little safety net under me, just knowing that if things get really hard, I can go and do a few shifts at that lovely restaurant where there's lovely people that work there and eat there, and I just have that thing. And so in terms of what drama school did, it taught me to survive, and it taught me it's not going to be easy, but you can do it.
Yeah,
if you're willing to put that kind of graft in, you can survive, you can do it.
yeah, and I think it's really hit home to me just like in the last couple of years that the resilience and the courage that it takes just to keep going in this thing. People always say, "Oh, it's a bit of a metaphor," just keep going, keep going, never give up. But of course, all that's true. But sometimes you have to just, it is a jungle out there sometimes. But but more than anything, there's always a way through the trees. So and I feel very, very lucky to have this platform here, because otherwise I'd be sat by the computer waiting for that all important email to come through, or the phone to ring. And I remember saying to myself after I left drama school, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. And and I'm not, and I'm very grateful to have this, speak to fantastic creatives like yourself and everybody else who has been on here, and just keeping that bug alive, and you count your blessings. Of course, your mate running the restaurant as well. He's like, yeah, can I have a shift on Saturday night? Yes, we need you. It's peak time. Get your ass in here now.
Yeah, exactly. And I can help her out, and it works. It works always. And she's like one of the most special people in my life now, and was there on my show recently. First person to be like, I need tickets. How am I getting tickets? I have to be there. I'm so excited. I'm a huge fan and supporter, and it's just so lovely and essential to find those people and keep those people around you.
Yeah, surround yourself with the right people always.
Yeah.
But everything happens for a reason, and it's we have to be taught. We're taught a lot in this life of ours, aren't we? But it's all. But
if you listen, if you are open to what things are teaching you, you can learn a lot. I think a lot of people sort of sail through and don't realize the lessons we're being taught, and then they'll make the same mistakes again, or keep finding themselves in situations where you're like, no, listen, that experience was telling you this thing. You can do this. Like, don't ignore that big lesson that's just been shown to you.
Yeah, exactly. The universe works in weird and wonderful ways, and then it's like, and it's happening. Tell it what you want, and it'll go, okay, just watch this. And then I don't know if you ever had.
Totally.
I don't know if you've had experiences in life where you look back and you think, oh, yeah, you think about things and you go, why did that have to happen? And then suddenly you sort of trace your steps back, and you go, okay, so if that happened then, this wouldn't have happened. That led on to this, that led on to that, then on to, and I thought, even though at the time I was thinking, this is a really random way of thinking, I'm not really sure where this is going, I don't want to be in this over too long, but then I did leave, but then as a result of leaving there, then this happened, and then, anyway, synchronicity, and then you look back and think, I don't know about you, but I had an experience where I thought, okay, so someone's been something, I know now, the universe is like kind of helping me through this somehow, and it's like, you needed to go here to learn this, you needed to go here to learn that, and then this channel, this
while
yeah.
I think well, I was in a situation that I ended up leaving because of American Clock. And so I feel like that play saved me. And then since then, like every time I was in a bad way, like a terrible breakup or another kind of heartbreak, a play came along and saved me. And it was like, don't you feel like you can't carry on, because look at this lovely thing that you get to go and do, and all these amazing people you're going to meet, and all the sort of great feelings and confidence you're going to get from this role. It like brings you back to life. And theatre, my God, has saved me, countless times.
Yeah. The power of theatre, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, God. Right, I've got to tell you this one story actually. Speaking of, I think I've definitely mentioned on this before, but yeah, I repeat myself a lot on here, so fuck it. Yeah, so there was a play on in London. I think it was like a year before you guys opened at the Old Vic. Actually, it was a Monster Calls. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I did.
Wow, one of the many.
That's a life changer.
Yeah. One of the many experiences I've had in the theatre. Well, I suppose more specifically, one of those kind of like inner circle moments in the theatre. Like very few plays that I've seen where I've gone to the theatre and I'm just walked out of it like a changed person, or like you walk out, and that's the thing we'll talk about a bit later. But so I went to, and I'll be totally frank with you. The app Today Ticks that you get. Yeah. So anyone who doesn't know, get the app. If you're a theatre lover, you can get tickets for London at hugely, brilliantly discounted prices. Excuse me, for West End shows and everything else in between. Of course, the Globe as well, and a few other places and stuff. So get that app, guys. And I'll be totally candid with you. I got on there one night. I was bored one night, and there was a cheap ticket going for it. And I thought, I'm only St Albans, I'm only a train ride away. Well, why not? Let's go to the theatre. I left that theatre like I'd just been hit by a train. Honestly, I thought, because the subject matter, and and there was some things going on in my family at the time with my now past granddad, who had a very similar experience to what the mother in that play was going through. I mean, you saw the show because you know what I'm talking about. And I remember just walking out there. I remember saying to my mum, I think you should come and see this. But I'm just letting you know now, it does go there. I had to pre-warn her because I didn't want her going in cold turkey or anything. And I was just, and I said to her, at first she was like, oh, okay, I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet. It was her dad. And I remember, and I thought, okay. And then it was like a week before it was about to close. And I thought, I don't know if this play's ever going to come back. And hopefully, and I know it has, it's been around the UK, and hopefully it does come back to London at the Old Vic. Any producers of that show, director Sally Cookson listening to this, please bring it back. Anyway, and I said to her, look, it closes next week. I really want you to see it. And she went, okay, let's go and see it. Okay, brilliant. So I took him to an evening show, and she, like everyone at the end, she stood up immediately, applauded, and she said that really helped me, I think, just to get some of that out. And I said, would you see it again? She said, yeah, I'd see it again tomorrow. Yeah.
There's a catharsis, isn't there, to being seen? And like, I don't know, we're holding on to so much pain and trauma from our lives. Yeah. And then you watch something where your experiences are right there. And there's these people, showing us beautifully all of that emotion, that you can release it. I think that play is Sally Cookson.
Sally Cookston, yeah. Shout out to the guys who've been on here from that as well. Stu Goodwin, who played the tree, Dan Canham, the movement director. Yes. Stu's was one of my first few guests, actually. Yeah, and he was incredible. Yeah, it's an amazing guy, brilliant actor as well. God, I could talk about that show for ages. I'm not going to, because we've got other things to get on to. Anyway, speaking of the power of theatre again, that's a very good lead on to Inter Alia.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's what a show. What a show. And, you're so lucky to be something amazing like this, So for anyone who's unfamiliar with the show, it's about, I'm just going to quickly just Google the names again because I don't want to get this right. So it follows Jessica Parks, who is a judge, and she's at the top of her game. She is a firmly established judge within the legal system. She is absolutely on top of everything that she's doing. She's representing some amazing people. She's got a fantastic home. She's got a supportive husband and a son called Harry. And something happens in the family. And I know I've been a bit hazy about spoilers, so I think we're going to spoil the play a little bit today. So anyone who is going to see it, just let you know now. We might touch on some spoilers, okay? So just let you know now. And something happens within the family, and similar to Prima Facie, which another Suzie Miller play, we must look at the legal system and how it does its job. And basically their worlds are flipped upside down. And what happens next happens. So we'll start. How did you first become involved with this project?
Well, I was lucky enough to meet Justin when I was doing Stranger Things. And I mean, I don't really know what he saw, because he didn't really get to see me. He saw me audition. I covered in Stranger Things, so it wasn't like he was directing me day to day in rehearsals. Yeah. He was directing the girl I was covering, woman I was covering. But I was part of it. Yeah. And we just had a great sort of creative, collaborative, in the tiny way that we could, relationship in the room. And I didn't really speak to him or hear from him very much, but I knew he was doing something at the National, because he had like AV checked me to see if I could do a workshop of something, because the woman that was playing it couldn't do the workshop. Now we know was Roz. And it turns out anyway, she could do the workshop, and I was unavailable anyway because I was doing umpteen cover rehearsals at Stranger Things. So I kind of just sort of forgot about it. Then found out it was coming into town and just assumed that the whole cast will come in and there won't be a space for me in whatever. I hadn't seen it because it was on during when we were performing as well, and the only night I could have gone was a Monday, and the tickets were extraordinarily expensive and there was never anything available. And anyway, cut to early this year, and the audition came through, and I don't know, I just was like, and something in me was like, you gotta get this. You've got to be part of this. Not because I have to be in this show, but because it just felt like that's where, you were saying about thing, you look back and you're like, oh, that thing happened because of that thing. Like, it sort of just made sense. It sort of was like, yeah, that thing that maybe Justin had me in mind for whatever reason. Like, the opportunity has opened itself up to me. And I was just like, I am going to work my socks off and not give them a choice. I never feel that way. I'm always quite like, whatever happens, happens. I take rejection in this industry so much better than I do like in relationships and stuff. I'm so used to like, no, not quite right because of this or that or this or that, I'm just like, yeah, well, whatever. But this one, I'm like, I gotta get it. I've got to. And I read it for the first time in like minutes, probably like under an hour. I like sped read it. Yeah. And it was just, I just ate it up. I was like, fuck, this is a really good play. And the first time I read it, I took myself, I was like not living in London like firmly at this point. I was sort of between houses, so I didn't really have anywhere quiet to be. So I just found a little nook at the National, sat in the window, read it start to finish. And then at the end of reading it, noticed that outside the window was an Inter Alia poster. I'm getting goosebumps now. I was like, oh God, please, God, please, 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 can I be a part of this? Like, I just wanted to be a part of this story, of telling this story of this brilliant play going into a place where it was going to be seen by thousands more people, because it, as we'll discuss, is so important. And I just wanted to work with Justin again. I think he's a bloody genius. I'm desperate to meet Suzie and learn from an actress like Rosamund. Anyway, yeah, and then I did my first audition, felt sick for ages, then did my recalls. Oh God, I think it went really well. Oh God, please God, please God. Didn't hear for ages again, because they were checking like all the 1,000 producers of the play, and everyone has to sign off. And then when I got it, I was like, great. And this huge thing just washed over me of like, oh, but now you've got to do it.
Yeah.
Like, getting the job is one thing, learning that is another. And then at this point I still haven't seen it, so I'd done all my auditions sort of like guessing how they would want Jessica to be, but having not, because at this point they'd taken it off National Theatre at Home, because they obviously knew that it was coming into town, and they wanted people to see it live, quite rightly.
Yeah.
So I just was sort of like guessing on the performance, and then I watched Rosamund do it. I was like, shit, she doesn't leave the stage. She's ironing. She's making dinner. She's doing her quick changes on stage. Like, I was just like, oh God, this is,
hang on a minute.
This is a giant. This is a marathon.
Yeah.
What? And I like was reading it, imagining there are other voices coming in for things, but no, it's her playing her best friend Danielle, playing her best friend Grace, playing all of the different like barristers that she's in the court with. This is huge. And then like fear set in, and well, it's amazing what you can do when you have the pressure of doing it in front of a West End audience.
Yeah.
I do think you can do anything.
It's a drive,
like,
isn't it? Yeah.
This experience has proved to me that if you want it, and you're like are willing to give something all of your time, energy, love, for as long as you need it to, you can do anything. It's the hardest I've worked by 1,000%. But thank God that I did, because I would have, I mean, the thought of doing that show and having regrets about not, I wish I'd done a bit more work on this, or I wish I'd done, like, I got to say, I mean, by no means was it a perfect performance, but I couldn't have worked harder. And there's like, you know, if I'd have had more rehearsals time and more time on stage and all that kind of thing, of course I could have done a way better, I think, job. But with the time that I had and the resources I had, I did the best that I could, which I just felt like I had to do, because, well, no one deserves to come to the theatre and not see someone doing their absolute best.
It's kind of what
you shouldn't be on. Yeah. Shouldn't be on the stage if you're not giving it your everything. And with this, there's no escaping it. You can't sort of like, oh, I've got scene 1 down, I'll just, during scenes 2 and 3, I'll just quickly look over scene 4. It's like, no, babe, you're in every single scene and you do not stop talking. So you need to have every line in you. And that's the beauty of this show. If you know it well enough, even if the line escapes you, you can tell the story, because you know it. You know what you're trying to say in that moment, in court, in the kitchen, in your kid's bedroom to him. You know what you're saying, because you know the story so well. And that's that level of like that I see Rosamund do every night, like that sort of comfortability with the role. If anything happens, whether it's meant to or not, nothing throws her, because she knows it inside out. She is that person. I was like, I need to get there. And as much as I could, like, I hope I did.
Of course you did, yeah. But this play, it's huge. It really is like a big thing. And I think it's kind of like, I know it's only her second play, but as soon as it started, I was like, this is kind of Suzie Miller trademark in a way. It's the speed of, again, like prima facie, said it again, was like, it's like the speed of thought, and I think I can't remember who said it, but she's this. I mean, Jessica especially, who Rosamund Pike brilliantly plays, like you say. It's like a consciousness. It's like a speed of thought. That's how she
Yeah.
talks. And of course,
Yeah.
our brains don't take pauses. It's like bang, 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 bang,
No.
bang, 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 bang the whole time. So I suppose we need to kind of start off. So you've got the job, everything. So how did you learn this thing?
I had about 2 weeks, I think, between like
Two
finally
weeks.
hearing. Yeah. Yeah.
Bloody
I don't know
hell.
why that uh, they were only recasting two people for the West End. I don't know why it took so long. I think, well, once I'd done my final, there was a week or so where they had to get everyone to sign off. That took time. And then there was like a couple of days waiting for a newer version of the script because there was no point in me learning something that was then going to change. And quite a lot did change between the National and Town for the better. Like, you know, they've finessed loads of brilliant moments and they've actually re-released the script. So I urge people to get a new up-to-date copy of that as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then I took my partner's an actor and he is learning a huge role that he's just opened in a play at the moment. And so we both went to a cottage in the middle of nowhere and just spent all day, every day walking around the cottage, saying our lines, and then we test each other. And so that's how I got about 4 or 5 scenes under my belt. And then the rest, I just did not stop talking. I put my earphones in, but not listening to anything, just in the hope that people on the street would think that I was talking to someone on the phone.
Yeah, I
But
did
I
say.
would
I
just be
did say.
talking. Like, and it's actually the monologues went in much quicker than the scenes that I have with my husband and son, because I can just repeat. So I would just talk all the time. And I moved into a friend's flat, so that I could be on my own. So because she's away performing at the moment, just so I could have like ultimate quiet.
Mm.
And also, what I'm talking about is like not necessarily the nicest thing ever as well. So
Yeah,
you know, I didn't want to be. I could have moved in with my best mate and her 5-year-old, but I absolutely couldn't be talking about this play around a 5-year-old. So yeah, I got space and quiet and just went over and over and over and over and over it. And because of my body remembers things maybe better than my brain, because it's used to dancing and used to learning choreography.
Yeah, it does.
And so the hardest thing was like not being able to practice enough with the kitchen. Like if you see the play, or you know, if you have already seen it, there's so much action. There's a whole scene where she's ironing a shirt and then she uses the iron all throughout the rest of the scene, and it's a hot iron that's steaming. That, you know, she's cooking, she's doing all of her changes, she's
Karaoke.
like karaoke, like setting shots on fire. Like it, there's so much business that I was like having to mark. And then when I finally got onto the stage, I'd be like, shit, no, I actually have to do this thing now. Like lighting the shots, drinking the shots. Then like, fuck, there was one cover rehearsal where I just forgot to blow the shots out. So they were like burning. It's just like, because I'm just, you know, you can only practice so much in your living room.
Yeah.
And we, you know, understudies just don't get enough rehearsal. And I don't say that in that my producers and my director should have got me more rehearsal. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
There is no time or means to get us more rehearsal than we did have. And so you just have to keep your nerve. And I don't know where it came from, but I just found some nerve. And maybe that's a dance thing as well. I don't know, the discipline of just being like dancing through pain, dancing through fear, dancing through all of this stuff, like that. Yeah. There were definite, like 2 weeks before my show, I was like, I can't do it. How am I gonna be ready? I've never done that on the stage. I've never done that on the stage. Never done that on the stage. And I just needed to do it, because then when I did get my tech moment of doing those scenes, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I can. I've watched it enough. I've like made enough notes. I have done enough learning to know that it will happen. I just needed to do it to know that it was possible, you know. So yeah, the mental gymnastics of the last few months leading up to my show were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, that's not even allowing space for the subject matter of the play,
Mm-hmm.
which really took a toll as well. And that was totally unexpected. Obviously, I knew what I was doing and what was going to happen in the story, but I didn't think about how, like, talking about it constantly all day, every day would affect my mental health. And then suddenly I was like, I hate all men. I hate everyone. If, like, no one understands, like, I got into a really dark place. And I'm sure, like,
Yeah.
I've seen people on your podcast before, especially Understudy, say, like, it's a really lonely job. And I felt so lonely because no one could understand this massive, the weight of this thing that I was doing, but also the subject matter was so heavy. And can, if you don't sort of find the optimism at the end of the play, which is something that we talked a lot about, because the end was tweaked all the way through previews to, like, how do we want to leave them? How do we want to leave them? And I think you have to leave them with a bit of positivity, because otherwise, what the heck, you know, the world is too bleak.
So the ending, especially, it's profound.
Yeah.
Really, really hits you. Yeah.
Oh my God. I bawled the first time I heard that beautiful score.
Oh, don't get me started. The soundtrack. I've been looking for it on Spotify for
Same,
ages.
because I just think it's so good. It's beautiful. I mean, I'm really sad that I didn't get to work with the sort of the music team weren't really here for this, because most of it was set for the National, and then it didn't change very much. But it's so powerful, that end scene. And yeah, anyway, getting back to, like, my mental health, I just had to really look after myself and be really boundaried. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, I leave the theatre at 10 o'clock during tech and previews and stuff, and I have to leave it there. And I have to listen to something funny and lovely on my way home. And then I get home and I watch The Good Place, or, you know, just something that is so removed from the story I'm telling. And then in the morning, that's when I get my script back out and I start again. But to be able to do the job, I just really needed to sleep, and I just couldn't sleep for all this, like, heaviness. And I think it's so amazing what we do and what we get to do. And quite often, I think the toll that it takes is overlooked, because we make it look easy, and we have to, especially this role. She has to make everything look so easy that she's dealing with, until it becomes too much. But yeah, it was just such a hard process, and there was no way around that. It was always going to be incredibly hard. But then, yeah, when I did it, I was like, what now? Just like, oh, this thing that's like this fire in me for 2 months has burned out now. But yeah,
it'll always be there. It'll always be there.
Exactly, totally. And especially while we're still running, we're open for another 7 weeks. Like, yeah, it's obviously going to stay there. But it was just my reason for being for 2 whole months, was to get those words in me, get all that action in me, and feel who Jessica is to the best of my abilities. Yeah, it was a wild ride.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I was very lucky to see it at the National last year. I saw it like early September. I think it was just after I think it opened, and of course I went along, and of course, you know, God, excuse me. Suzie Miller, of course, you know, I was a big fan of, and Justin, you know, who's also been on here as well. We had a great chat, you know, and can't wait to speak to him about this as well. You know, and I went along and just, you walked out the theatre just like, yeah, it really is tapping into something here. I mean, we'll talk about the themes and stuff in a moment, but I really should have written this down. I'm so sorry. Jessica Parks, who you play, who is she to you?
Kind of an idol. In the same way I sort of watch Rosamund on and off stage with like complete awe and admiration for juggling what she does. That's Jessica to me. Rosamund, I guess. But I don't have children, so I can put myself in her shoes to an extent, because our careers are, incredibly important and overwhelming and busy and stressful and stuff. I'd argue not to the level of a female judge. I mean, so she's a freaking rock star, which makes sense of that first scene.
Yeah.
And all of the scenes where she's on the mic, and she is a rock star. She makes being a judge cool. And it's all just clicked into place and all going so well until the thing she can't control falls apart. But till that point, that midpoint of the play where she's like screaming out at karaoke and just flying, she's soaring. And all of her hard work and all of the battles she's had to fight to get to where she is, all the little battles that she's still silently fighting with her husband, with, all of her colleagues who are like, why has a woman got that job and not me? And, all of those things that she's had to overcome to get to where she is. She's hit the heights, but then it's just, that means it's so much further to fall. And I met an amazing judge called Sally. I went and observed her for a day. Really, really tough case, and which made me just have nothing but respect for female judges, especially are given a predominantly sexual assault, child abuse, rape cases a lot, which I think is excellent for the majority female alleged victims. But that's a heavy burden for these female judges to be carrying. And I just watched in awe as she sort of doing such an amazing job in the room, and then she'd go back into her chambers and we'd follow with our lovely legal associate Danielle. And then she'd just be immediately family woman, talking about her kids, talking about her husband. Oh God, my brother's coming to stay and I've got to do this. And he's just texted me saying he wants this for dinner. And I'm like, you are doing it all, like Jessica.
Yeah.
Bloody brother who's come to stay cooking you dinner. But it was life imitating art. And I am in awe of Jessica, the part that I get to play, and all the women that inspired her, of which there are loads. I wish I'd got to meet them all when they were creating the play at the National, but I was really lucky that I did get to meet Sally, and she was just bloody excellent. But she did say you sort of become numb to that. You have to become numb to the cases, which, I mean, I still think about the one that I watched all the time. Yeah, it was a huge responsibility, and that day really shook me up, but kind of reaffirmed the importance of the story that I'm telling. And when you think about that alongside, oh God, I've got so many lines to learn. You're like, yeah, learn them then.
Yeah, that's the easy bit.
Because this is the reality of this role that you're playing. That this person's entire life is consumed by it too, and so that you got to step up and do this part justice and do this, play justice. There was nothing I could have done other than do my absolute best. I don't know if I answered your question there at all, but we went on a nice tangent.
Of course you did. Of course you did. It's again, it shows that one thing that jumped out at me there, what you were talking about, is these are human stories. With like you go to a court. Of course, they're human stories. They're in a court. Yes, yep. Hear me out on this one. But you're going to court to hear about a story from another human being, and you see how the power of words and the power of actions has the ability to either lift somebody all the way up, make them feel brilliant, a bit like your drama school experience that you talked about earlier. The power to lift people up so high or bring them down so low, and then they have to work through that. But these stories, these are happening. These are happening, these things. And I'm reminded again of a line from Primer, which was when a woman has been violated, it takes over the mind, the soul. And, this is something that stays with people for a long time. And, I'm going to ask you about reactions to the show in just a moment. But, people sharing their stories. I mean, I think it's the same, but kind of different in a way in terms of reaction to this thing, because with Primer, it was all about women coming forward and sharing their stories, some for the very, very first time in over 50, 60 years. And people from all different age ranges, from tragically so 16 all the way through to the 80s and 90s. And, they're coming forward and telling this story for the first time and saying, I'm the one in three. But with this one, we were talking about it earlier, just before we came on here. And I remember you saying that you were listening to people leaving the theatre. And I remember you saying you heard a couple of men actually say, oh, right, I'm going to go home and I think I need to have a serious conversation with my son. I think I need to talk about this now. But what was it like hearing and experiencing some of the reactions that you've got to this thing?
It's just amazing. It's the like you say, I think women, whether they've kept things in for decades or not, women just talk more than men. We do. We talk to our friends more. Throughout all of our ages, most women will talk to their friends if something if they need, if there's a worry, if there's a concern, and that happens in this show. She talks to her son potentially not enough about the subjects we cover, but she tries. And I think, not to blame them, but it's been that way. Like, it's assumed that mothers will have these discussions with their sons more than it's assumed that the fathers will. And what we really address in this is the difference in the world and society from when Jamie Glover's character, Michael, the dad, is a kid or teen, 20s, growing up. The world is an entirely different place to how it was, to how it is now for Harry, their son. And so I think men of that age, 40s, 50s, 60s, raising boys to men, get complacent or are not aware of how the landscape is just entirely different now and far more dangerous.
Indeed.
And a lot of these parents, these dads, don't realize it until they see this show or until they watch Adolescence. And so we're saying, like, have the conversation, educate yourself, get online and see what your kids are consuming, but also talk to them about how they're feeling. Tell your son that I mean, these are lines from the show, but that he doesn't have to join in with that kind of Rosone, manosphere world.
Crowd. You don't have to do that.
Yeah. And this is another one of Susie's lines, say that you understand the conflict between being one of the boys and valuing women, because there's, I think, and I'm in my early 40s, so there's a lot of this that I wasn't aware was even going on, that the way that females sort of or girls are being discussed online, and how that they are reduced to these shots of body parts and stuff. It's terrifying, and but it has to be addressed, because a teenager thinking that way about a woman can only lead to not having enough respect for them, not valuing them and their body, and as human beings, as equals. If they're just consuming all of this awful content about them, about women, in such a disrespectful way. And I guess for my age group, all we really had was like, don't watch porn. Whereas now, my God, there are so many places kids can get lost and fall down on the internet.
It's disgusting.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And the one thing we absolutely can do is talk to them, is talk to our kids, boys and girls. And just hearing Saturday night, the last show we were at, I get to come out of the stage door at the same time as the audience is coming out from the theatre. So I can hear all of these immediate reactions. And so often women are crying and men are shell-shocked. And then it takes them a couple of minutes as you're walking down the stairs to the tube for them to go, oh God, fuck, I better have a conversation. We did it. We did it. And if that's only one guy, luckily it probably isn't, but even if it was only one guy,
mission accomplished.
It's mission accomplished. And that's what's so brilliant about Susie's work, is that she's changing minds and lives. But thanks to also like Justin's incredible direction that keeps people engaged the entire time. A play is one thing, but it's only as good as it's the director's vision and passion. And I think Suzie and Justin just work so brilliantly together. Obviously, like it's as proven by their two huge successes. But it's and the mixture of the both of them, her brilliant stories and his excellent energy and power behind it all. It just makes for the most arresting experience. I've had all of my friends that saw it are still texting me just like, I cannot stop thinking about the play. And I don't know, and they don't have like kids of that age yet, but a lot of them have like 4, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. And, we have made sure that that's on their mind now, which is just, God, so brilliant.
Yeah, no, it reminded me of, I'm again reminded of another person who worked with you on this, your intimacy coordinator, Lucy Hind, as well.
Yes.
We did an episode recently. A big shout out to her. Fantastic talking to you, Lucy. I'm pretty sure we talked about this as well. So, but it shows that it reminded me a lot of my own adolescence in some ways. Not thankfully not of what Harry's been through, the character of Harry, but I feel very, very lucky knowing that when I was sort of like in school, early teenage years and stuff, our adolescence wasn't social media. I think my one was the last one before the revolution sadly took off, and there are positives of social media, don't get me wrong, but unfortunately what it has kind of spiraled into. But our adolescence was getting on our bikes and going to the park. We'd go around a friend's house and we'd talk. We'd maybe watch a film in the background, but there were no phones to distract us. There was very few ways that we could get access to material. If we wanted to, of course.
Yeah.
But let's have it right. We're teenagers, we're discovering things, hormones are raging, blah blah blah. But it's but I think one of the biggest things that this really showed me, not only was the performances fantastic from Rosamund, from Jamie, and from, I know there was one boy who did it at the National, and then it's
Jasper.
Jasper.
Yeah, now we've got
you know,
Cormac, who's
yeah.
wonderful.
So both, is it Jasper and Cormac that were?
Jasper did the National, Cormac's with us
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I saw Jasper do it at the National. I thought he was fantastic, and I'm sure the new guy is just as Cormac is brilliant as well. I mean, I'd love to play that part. I mean, if it's such a dense role, and it opens up so many conversations. And I think actually, yeah, from Harry's perspective, I didn't see me as such, but I saw other people who I went to school with in
Yeah.
Harry. And I'm going to tell you a story which I told Lucy, which was again without naming names, but we heard on very good authority that something happened one night. We were like 13, 14 at the time. And some of the popular crowd, in big inverted commas, went to a party. And we heard that in the early hours of the morning, after everyone was still asleep, one of the girls there was raped while she was asleep. And the story went around the school, and as far as I know, there were no police investigations. We never saw the police coming into school. There was none of that at all. I don't know if they went to the guy's house, but I don't know. But but that guy actually got kicked out of school for stealing from the PE locker rooms. He wasn't kicked out of school for doing what he did at the party, and there was no police investigation either. But he was kicked out for stealing people's wallets and watches in the in the PE department. And thankfully he was kicked out of school, but it wasn't for what happened, And I have to say, as soon as Jasper made that entrance at the National, and he's kind of like, he's pissed from the party, and he's kind of falling over, and he's holding on to drawers and everything. I just immediately, I suppose it's like instinct in me, like the theatre thing. You look for messages, you look for little things in the theatre.
Yeah, where could this be going?
Yeah, why is that there? Why is that? As soon as he walked in, I thought, it just hit me. He's done that. He's done that. And then towards the end of the play, you realise what he's done. But and it was like, And then I completely forgot about that story from school up until that moment in theatre. Something like 12, 15 years after it happened, I suddenly thought, oh yeah, shit, that actually happened to someone in our school when we were underage as well. And, it was... and then suddenly I thought, and then again with Adolescence, the brilliant Netflix show recently, Jack Thorne, Stephen Graham and co, it shows that we're entering a new time. And I think it's one of Jamie's lines who plays the dad in the play as well. Again, fantastic performances all around. Mm-hmm. But I think it's one of his lines where he says, I was taught differently. I don't know how to do it, and I think a lot of dads who were born in the 60s and 70s, they don't know how to have these conversations because there was no social media. And also above all, they weren't told how to talk about their feelings. And sadly, I know this was kind of a saying at the time, as a bloke talking about his feelings, just man the fuck up, man. You'll be doing the washing up next. And all these, you weren't told to talk about things as a man, and you were told to just get your head down, keep your head up and just get on with it, just put it out of your mind, or just snap out of it, or just look on the bright side. Things always get better, and it's not as easy as that, and this play is
and really also men and as Michael Wheatley, the character, says, men were also raised to treat women differently. Like, as in it wasn't, he says, like, we were told to keep going, and if she's resisting, she's playing hard to get. and that is true, that that there was the sort of thrill of the chase and that kind of thing that was everywhere. is, you know, like certainly when I was younger, and the idea of like consent was just not in our sort
No,
of
no,
our worlds with when it comes to, especially when you're a kid, like teenage,
yeah,
like parties and stuff like that. Back in, you know, what would have been Michael and Jessica's youth,
back in
it
there.
wasn't it yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't like that. And so his one of his defenses is, it was different in my day. I you know, wouldn't have ever thought about whether I had consent. Not that he raped people, but you know, it just wasn't in his, in the vocab. And just that, you know, looking back, he even says like it's hard. I can't say for sure that I would have had consent every single time,
mm,
because I didn't
yeah,
check, and because we know now, like women talk about it a lot, about how, you know, they went along with things they didn't want to do because they didn't know how to say no.
hmm,
And now, you know, now we can, like Jessica teaches Harry to say, is this okay? Like whenever he is embarking on something new sexually in a relationship or whatever, keep checking, is this okay?
hmm.
Which, spoiler, it turns out he didn't. The one time he really needed to.
Mm. And you know, again, another thing it reminded me of was that, particularly of people sort of my age or maybe the generation just after me going into secondary school or whatever, we're told this programming-esque kind of message, or as I call it, the bullshit message, that when you go to school, you've got to be popular and you've got to do what everybody else is doing. Otherwise, you're weird. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
who snuck that into the mix? I don't know. But again, I think with Harry is that he goes along with all of these things that his soul is probably saying to him, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But his ego and his peer pressure side of the brain, which hasn't fully grown yet to ignore all that stuff,
Yeah.
has gone, oh, okay, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And then and next thing you know, he finds himself in places that he shouldn't be in, and he does what he does. But you know,
Yeah.
but it showed me that that's the power of letting other people have power over you, because you essentially you want to be popular. And what does that even mean?
I know, and I can't even
Yeah.
imagine trying to navigate that now when popularity is so much more
Oh my Lord, yeah.
obvious in terms of like likes and how much hate you get on your posts and
How many
all of
followers
this
you've
kind of
got? Yeah.
like, exactly, like, oh, I just had to think of like who's sitting with me or who am I playing with. Like
Yeah.
they have this entire world that is dictating. I mean, it just must be terrifying to be a parent right now. And I think that that's a sort of overriding thing that people feel when they leave as well. This immense shift in responsibility, like shift up in responsibility for, you know, helping your kids navigate that period that must just be horrendous.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, we need things like this as well. Do you know, you remind me of again of Adolescence. Brilliant, brilliant show. You know, it was one of those ones that I watched it for the first time, and my brain was just like, okay, you know. And this is not a criticism, by the way, Stephen Graham, Jack Thorne, if you're listening. But it was like, I'm not quite sure I wasn't quite sure what the message was at first. I knew it was about, you know, adolescence, title of the show, young boys nowadays, social media, you know, what they get up to, blah blah blah. But then suddenly I went back to it and I watched it for a second time, and it was like
Mm,
the third episode where you've seen the show, right?
yeah.
Yeah, the third one where Aaron Doherty and I can't remember the kid's name, but he's playing Jamie, have that whole scene in the prison cell where they just have that back and forth, back and forth. It's the most beautiful game of tennis, without with an undercurrent of she's trying to basically get into his head and say, look, tell me why
Hmm.
you do all these things. Tell me. And actually that seems so important now, because you're getting a first-hand account of 13, 14, 15 year olds in this time of social media about
Yeah.
how there's thankfully not all of them, just stress that, not everybody, but how some people feel about other people and women. I'll just say it plainly.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where, and the scene where he just explodes and he smashes his hot chocolate off the table and he goes, "You do not tell me when to sit down. Just get that in that fucking little head of yours." And he talks later about, so how do you feel about your mum? Or that kind of thing. Well, I don't know. I mean, she can make a roast dinner, but that's about it. And you're like, hang on a second. Hang on a second. This is the person who brought you into the world, for God's sake. This is the one who taught you how to
loved and cared
and gave you everything you wanted. And I think there's a spoiler in the last episode where he talked about getting him a computer. And she has a bit where she said, "Oh yeah, he would go up to his room and slam the door after school, and he'd be on the computer till 1-2 o'clock in the morning. And I would just walk past his room and go, so come on, Jamie, it's time for bed now. Get off that computer, yeah." What is he watching in there?
Yeah.
Huh? Oh. But
again, he's learning how to talk to women like that.
Yeah.
Like he does to Erin's character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's learned. You don't just
100%.
Come up with that kind of response to a woman. That's someone who's been watching Andrew Tate and his crowd, isn't it? Learning from the way they think and speak about women.
Yeah,
but you're right about Harry. He's a certain. I can't speak for acting alongside Jasper, but with Cormac and Luke, who's his understudy, who I've rehearsed more with, that's what is so kind of arresting on stage with them, playing the mother of these grown boys, is their sort of innocence and their good souls completely led astray by the internet and by mates who've just twisted them into this desperate version of themselves that wants to fit in. And in wanting to fit in, he's committed this terrible crime. But the good boy comes through in knowing he has to do the right thing at the end.
Mm.
And although the right thing will shatter his life, it is the right thing. That's Jessica's battle.
And of course she knows the legal system. That's her inner conflict. It's like she knows the law, but she has to send her own son to prison. And how old is Harry technically in the
18?
Yeah,
so it'll be adult prison.
Yeah, so your legal advisors, I've been lucky enough to meet one actually with Suzie one night a few months ago, and so how long did they mention to you, because he's 18, he's been found guilty of sexual assault, how long would he get in jail?
Because she was asleep, there's therefore he couldn't have even asked her for consent. There was definitely no consent. He would have been in prison for at least 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, yeah. The sentence would have been 9, probably, but then 6 in custody, which is what a sentence I give to another defendant earlier in the play in scene 3. Yeah. And he his sentence was that high because he filmed it, so therefore it was clear that she was saying no, and there was video evidence, and he continued to do what he did even though the victim was saying no. But yeah, so Jessica has to, in that final scene, she has to grapple with that. She knows there are so few guilty verdicts in rape cases because she has to sit through it every day. Mm-hmm. There's not enough evidence to convict so many defendants in rape cases.
Yeah.
And that must be so frustrating to her. But then in this moment, it's flipped, because then it's seen, it's as this fuck, that means the chances of him, if he doesn't say anything, the chances of him going to prison are very small. But he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to lie. He doesn't want to not speak.
Oh.
He wants to be honest and say he fucked up. And sorry, but
he. Of course you can swear on it. Fuck it.
which I think is really important for the message we send away with the audience.
Yeah.
Is one of, God, if we're not teaching our kids to do the right thing, because it will cost Jessica. It will probably cost her career, because already there's been all these reports of she shouldn't ever be allowed to preside over a rape case again because of her son's actions and all of this stuff, which,
Great timing.
Yeah. So it's going to come at huge cost to Harry's life and to Jessica's, but it is the right thing.
Yeah.
To do. And it will mean Amy, the victim's life she can start again. And she doesn't have to carry around the fact that she reported this awful abuse and nothing was done. And I think living with that is much harder than living with the fact that he confessed, he did his time, he knew what he did was wrong. People are learning from their mistakes rather than covering them up just because they can.
Yeah. Of course, there's the difference actually there is, and again, the end of Primer, the not guilty verdict is read out, and there's, again, Tessa says there is the sound from the, what did she say? I'm paraphrasing here. The roar from the gantry is loud, and there's clapping. Defense barristers are shaking hands. They're thrilled. Julian gets off scot-free. Yeah. Whereas on this one, and I think, like you say, there is a message of positivity left with the audience to say that this guy, he actually listened to his conscience, and he said, "Mum, I've done an awful thing. Because I think, this is my reading of it anyway, if he doesn't say anything, this will eat him from the inside out from the rest of his life."
Yeah.
So,
and he'll either become very angry and resentful, which will, who knows where that would lead.
This will kill him.
Well, yeah, exactly. And ruin her life because it was totally ignored. Because they're a very privileged family. They have access to the best defense barrister, just as Julian did. Mm-hmm. They could have, if he was willing to say nothing, they could have easily got him off.
Yeah.
Which is kind of gross as well.
I know. But I've got to talk about that final scene. And I mean, when you did it, because you had a show, you had your own Understudy show, which was sold out as well. Congratulations!
Yeah.
And just very quickly, there was the reason I actually discovered you actually through like Inter Alia's Instagram page. I think it shared some of the videos of yourself at the stage door. I think you just walked out of the stage door. It's like, okay, right, I've done it. Cool, right. We'll hope for another one. You just walk out, and there's a sea of people going, "Flora, Flora, Flora," and everyone's going, "Oh my God!" I mean, rightfully deserved as well. It sounds like, this role, which unfortunately I didn't see you do it, but I'm sure you did a stellar job. But what was that moment like, walking out and seeing everybody there just applauding, saying, "Can I have your autograph? Can I have a picture?"
Oh, it was amazing. I knew I had about 50 friends and family in, which was just
huge,
awesome. But I didn't allow for I didn't prepare for the fact that there'd be loads of people I don't know waiting there to say thank you and well done and asking for autographs. And there was a massive group of students. I guess they booked maybe my show. I think my show was slightly cheaper than Roz's, so maybe they just gone for.
Cool.
And also a lot of young students don't know Rosamund as well as my generation do. So when that went in my favor, I guess. So they were all at my show, and they were like, "We've seen so many shows since we've been in London, and this was the most affecting. It was so brilliant." And that to get to do it in front of a load of drama school students was really lovely. Wow. And also to be like, I'm an understudy and I get to do it. I think that's really a really important thing to see as well. And it was just, I can't I had people from all walks of my life, people from arts ed, from when I was training, when I call myself a dancer, and then doing that, which is by all accounts, a full on play. Like I did it. I did the leap, and so people were really like emotional witnessing that. Like I used to be in a band, and so all the girls from that band came, and some of their parents came, and like just being like, God, us little girls in our early 20s putting that band together, and now
there we are.
like I attract the reason I got on the mic and was so comfortable on the mic without much rehearsal at all is because I was in that band, and I know how to
muscle
use
memory,
a wired mic and do all the micography. I'm so grateful to my days being we were called the Tootsie Rollers, being a Tootsie Roller because it meant that whole first scene when she's got the mic in the stand was so much easier for me because I had experience. But yeah, just all of these people from every part of my life. My parents, my brother flew over from Rome. My sister's just the most supportive person in the world. Like my biggest fan. She's just brilliant. My partner, his parents, like it was mad. It was absolutely mad and like wonderful. I was saying to you earlier, like the opening scene's pretty iconic, and Jessica appears out from substage and rises in a very impactful rock and roll way, and the audience just started screaming and clapping, and it was all I could do to keep my hand steady holding the microphone and not grin, because it was just so lovely to hear all of these like mates of mine just going wild. Yeah, it was great, and so many of my friends that came who do what we do, and we know that there are really tough moments. They all said how it made them inspired. They left there feeling inspired to keep going, to
100%.
Not just what the play is about, but the fact that I've waited ages to this is my first time playing a lead in the West End in a play, and I'm in my 40s. Like it takes time,
but it happens.
But it can happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can happen like in this way with this play and that director and this writer and these brilliant actors, and like if you want it enough and you work hard, the evidence shows you can get it. You can get there.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what.
But be nice to people. Oh, it's not my table. Because I'm only here because of each of the people that I met that went, oh yeah, Flora should do that. Or do you know Flora? Like, honestly, you can have the best agent in the world, but if people don't like working with you, they don't want to employ you. And almost every job I have got is because someone has gone, what about Flora?
Yeah.
So yeah. It's not all skill and big agencies, and it's just
I've learned that
being working hard and being nice to people.
Yeah. Ultimately, just don't be a cunt. That's the only thing.
1000%.
Yeah. I've met some people in this business. I'm not going to name names, but
there's enough. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, you're an asshole. But again, just be nice. Just be nice to people. Obviously, look after yourself first, of course. But know that I think a lot of success in this business comes from just being nice to people. And it's very easy. Very easy.
And it makes everything better for you as well. Like it was just something very small, but I said, oh God, I feel bad that because I need to do this thing on stage, 5 stage management need to be there, someone from the so-and-so department needs to be there, and someone from wardrobe needs to be there. And the lovely hair and makeup lady was like, sure, people like you, they're happy to do it, don't worry. Like, and I was like, interesting. Like, yeah, okay, good. Like, oh, that's nice. Like, I don't know, it just shows like in the same way, I would be willing if my fellow actor wanted to rehearse something because they were going on. I'd be there in an instant because I love them, and I you know, they're wonderful to work with. You know, if you have that, then everything is easier for you. Everything is better for you. People are willing to help you more and support you more. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Indeed. I just got to ask you one more thing about the play,
Mhm.
or it might be two. Who knows? But that final again. Sorry, guys. Spoiler. Just letting you know now. What was it like to play that scene? I was specifically the scene where I've forgotten the son's name again already. God, my name's in the end.
Mac,
No,
or the character.
yeah, Harry. Yeah, Harry. Yeah,
Harry.
yeah. When Harry comes in, and of course by this point, Jessica and Jamie have been through. Is Jamie? No, that's the actor's name, isn't it?
Michael.
Michael. Yes, Jamie's the actor's name. So it's, again, Jamie, great stuff, man. Jessica and Michael have been doing the rounds. They've been, okay, we'll get this guy. He owes me a favor. Blah, blah, blah. They've poured so much effort into getting the best defense that money can buy through their links in the business. I think you're sat at a table and you've got a chunk of newspapers around you and all that. Is that the scene?
Slightly changed now.
Slightly changed. Oh,
But that is the scene. That is
yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the scene before it. If you can come again, because
No, I want to.
they've added little Harry into the penultimate scene a lot more. So when she's grappling with trying to tell her best friend Grace, and when she's reading all of the news flashes and updates on social media and all of this stuff that's going out, her little Harry is all over the stage with her.
Yeah.
And then she's in court and she's sentencing this man to prison, and he's there and he hands her wig and he hands her microphone, and it's all like, and then the scene where Harry comes in, older Harry, to confess to her in the last scene, little Harry's still there. And so now Jessica has this sort of pull to the image that she's conjured in her head of the little boy that she tried so hard to protect and so hard to teach about the world. She has him sat there, and then the older version of him making this confession. And then when he does finally say, what, I did this, the little Harry disappears. And it's just...
Oh, wow.
And like that, I mean, I think is some classy Justin Martin moves there.
Beautiful man.
Right? And then that whole scene taking place and him saying he's going to go to the police. Will you come with me? And then again, the kids come on at the end, and it's just...
Oh, well, those kids, by the way, I was lucky to see it at the National. The way they play that final scene is just, it's stunning. The music, and I said this to Lucy as well, just the music in that scene. Like I said earlier, I've been going through deep recesses of Spotify trying to find this stuff. But
well, if I can get access to it, I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
it's beautiful, and it's so perfect, and it's full of hope, as well as feeling so melancholy in its sound. There is, when the kids are running around and there's light lifts a little bit, and Jessica sort of sees the reason why she's got to support Harry, because I think Suzie writes it beautifully in the text, but in order to protect little children, little girls and boys, we have to lead by example. We have to do the right thing, and the right thing is supporting her son and going to the prison, going to the police station with him. And but to answer your question, God, I mean, Cormac is devastating to perform opposite. He plays it very differently to Jasper, and there's a kind of innocence all the way through. In that he's so drunk when he does what he does, he almost tells himself he didn't do it, and he can't have done it. And it's only when things start unraveling that he's like, and he can't lie anymore because
Like, shit, what have I done? What have I done? Yeah.
And it's like in scene 18 where we read her police report, her police interview out, it's all starting to sink in, like. But even in that point, I think he's still going, no, because I was home by midnight and her evidence says that it happened at 2 a.m. And, she's just traumatized. She can't remember details.
Yeah.
She was drunk and she was being physically abused. So her account isn't accurate, but most victims' accounts aren't accurate because they're going through something horrific.
Yeah.
And so, all throughout, he is clinging to the idea that, her evidence isn't matching up with his memory, and his memory is very hazy, and her memory is very hazy. But then he just realizes, no, he can't deny that the bits he can remember and the bits he can remember are that he did the wrong thing.
Yeah. What was it when you performed it? What was it like to play that scene in front of an audience?
Well, the audience was the bit that I didn't anticipate because I could never. I've never had reaction. So I'd say he said, "But Mum, I'm guilty," and I say, "Only morally," and the audience go, "Oh," because I'm basically saying you're not guilty in the eyes of the law yet, though, because they can't prove that you did it. And suddenly this audience are like, what? You're Mrs. Morals. You're the queen of right and wrong, and people should pay for what they did. And you're saying
devil's advocate, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant writing. And even the blocking and the way that scene is done now is so brilliant. But the gasps from people when she's like, "Oh, you're only guilty morally, not legally." The prosecutor has to prove it, and they can't prove it. There's no evidence she was asleep because it wasn't filmed. And, it's not like 3 people were stood at the door watching and going, yeah, she was asleep. There were no witnesses. So you can say nothing and a jury can't be sure you're guilty. So you'll get off. And the audience are like, what? We don't know what to think. What? It's mad. And then finally she comes round, and there's, the beautiful bit where she reveals she's looking for Harry at the end, and she takes the hood off a child, and it's Amy. And in my show, there was a massive gasp from the audience at that moment as well. And I was like, God, I didn't know that was one of the points where, the audience going, fuck, it's Amy. Oh my God, Amy. And God, it was all so real. I was so present, especially in that last scene, because there was nothing to prepare me for what it was like hearing 800 people discovering the truth at the same time as Jessica. It was just unbelievable. And then it made that last 20 seconds where he says, "Are you going to come with me?" And she says, "I'm so scared." And he's like, "It's okay. I'm going to be okay. Please calm, And she's like, "Yeah, I'm coming." And I think maybe the end is slightly different certainly to the version I saw on NT Live. I don't know where that was in the run that you saw, but the very end is slightly different as well now.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it was unbelievable. And then it just ended, and I was like, the train stopped.
Yeah.
The train that you get, and I think oh God, I forget her name, the lovely Jodie's understudy.
Danny.
But yeah, Danny, I remember her saying, it is a train. You get on that train and it takes you somewhere, and it will never be the same place. And you'll do different detours every time you do it. And I know Roz thinks that way about the show as well. Sometimes a scene can go a certain way and you're like, where are we going? Where are we going? And then it will take you, but you all sort of end up in the same place.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the music as well. And then we talked that again. But when that note hits, again, just 1,000 pictures came into my head, which was, but one in particular, which was, we look at how young and innocent we are there. How does that turn into
Yeah.
And
With
again,
all the will in the world, all the love, all the privilege he has, all the, you know,
yeah,
he has a perfect upbringing
yeah.
on paper. It just says nobody can rest on their laurels when it comes to parenting. We have to be so vigilant now.
Mm. You know, it reminded me, I don't know if you've seen this actually, but there's a clip that's gone viral around. I'm not sure when this was recorded, but it was actually in a courtroom, and it was with a judge. And there's some people there. It's in the States, and there's a judge there, and she's talking to some of the people. They're in their orange jackets, and they're about to go. I'm not sure. They've been in prison or something, but they're guilty of a crime. And this clip went viral from one of the recorded sessions, and the judge recognizes one of the guys in the orange jacket, and they were at school together, and she recognizes him, and she goes, "So at number, I can't remember the number. So saying number 4, can you just step forward, please? I want to ask you a question." He goes, "Yes, ma'am." And this guy's kind of like really sturdy, and he's trying not to show anything, I'm not guilty of anything or something, whatever. But there's a hard exterior there, not showing anything. And she goes, "Did you go to Nautilus for middle school?" And he recognizes it, goes, "Oh my goodness!" And then suddenly it goes, bang, that innocent boy and he starts just bawling his eyes out, and he goes, "Do you know, I always wonder what happened to you, sir. You were the best. This was the nicest kid. He played football out at lunchtime. I used to play with him. I always wonder what happened to you, and I'm really, really sorry that that I see you in this way now. And I wish you all the best." And it just hits you like, wow.
Yeah.
You know,
But her bringing him forward and recognizing him and reminding him of who he was, like, I mean, hopefully that kind of thing
changed
has
him.
the capacity to change him and help him find his way back.
It's amazing. Yeah. And just very quickly, what was it like working with Rosamund Pike? What advice did she give you?
She's been so supportive. I remember one warm up, must have been in previews because the team was still around. And she was like, "Okay, so hang on. When are you getting a run? When are you doing this?" I said, "Oh, well, I've got these 3 tech sessions on stage, and then we've got a run on the Friday, and then I do it on the Monday." And she's like, "That's not enough. You expect her to do that, to do it? That's nothing." She's very humble in that sense. She is the first to admit this role is a killer, and it takes so much to be able to do it. And but no, she's always, even in rehearsals, because she knows I wasn't at the National as well, she was like, "Oh, I do this here because of this thing." And we discussed that barrister would have said this, so that's why I say this to him. And she's just always thinking about me, and it was so lovely, actually. She's very collaborative. I think we both recognize that, like, playing this role is not something that anyone can kind of just slip into. And quite often she'd be like, "I really don't feel like that Jessica would do this at this point. Flo, what do you think?" And I'm like, "I don't either." But we had this sort of like team vibe of only we get it, and I just don't feel like she'd do that or say that or do that like that. And whenever those little moments came along, I was like, "Oh, I'm so glad that she's values my opinion and feelings." And but no, she's truly inspirational. She is juggling so much every day. She's done something else before she comes to work, an audiobook or an interview or a podcast or she's never stops, and it never shows. She gives everything on the stage every night. I respect her so very much. I mean, I feel really lucky that it's her. There's this bit of a culture of celebrities doing plays now to make money, and this is just not that.
100%
She is the perfect person to be playing this role. It was genius casting. And no one cares more about the subject matter than she does. She's a huge advocate for for this story sort of getting out and educating fathers and boys, and she's so passionate, and that just bleeds down through the whole production. Yeah, it's an utter joy. She gave me the most beautiful flowers on the day of my show, which was the day after the Olivier's, and she still managed to hand deliver the most beautiful flowers with a handwritten note. She's a classy woman.
She is.
And just the epitome of juggling everything,
Yeah.
Winning Olivier the night before, but making sure that her understudy had some flowers the next day. Like,
yeah. Again, it shows like it's quality of people.
Thinking and yeah.
And as well, like she's juggling, like in, like you say, a podcast or a audiobook or something. And when I interview her, I will ask her about that. But Rosamund, if you're listening, you are more than welcome on here. I'd love to have you. I've got so many questions for you about the show and just everything else that you've done. So huge shout out to yourself. The fact that that's in her brain to say, Flo's doing the understudy run tonight. Okay, right. Flower shop, yes. Best one, yeah. How much is it? Don't care. Boom, around, and then she's there with the flowers going. Good luck. You've got
she
this.
Didn't
you know what you're doing.
Need to, and it was.
Yeah.
She's so she has so much energy for all of us, and especially us understudies. Like if she could, she'd just nip into to watch, because she's just always wanting to see different versions of the play and hear different ways of telling her story, and she's a real actor's actor. She's so supportive.
Oh yeah, and I thank her for her performance, and I thank you as well for being a part of it, and for.
Thank you.
And the detail that you've shared with me today, and just like, and the passion that you have for not only what you do, but this play as well and everything. And I think just before we finish, I want to just get this in as well. I'm pretty sure I said this earlier, but a verbal motif that I have in the show is that we change the fucking world. When theatre's done right, we change the fucking world. And of course, like I say, for films as well, because it's to a wider audience. You go to a cinema screen, or you can get films like in your home now, before sadly cinema is becoming a little bit of a wobbly industry right now, because fewer and fewer people are going, because anyway, but we need to get that back up. But yeah, when it's done right, shows like this, when you've got people like Justin Martin or Suzie Miller at the helm, Rosamund Pike, yourself, Jodie Comer, or other shows in London have done well. A Little Life is another one I've talked about on here as well. A Monster Calls, which we talked about earlier. Just theatre changes when art is done correctly and it's done brilliantly with the right people. It changes the fucking world, because people are going home and having those conversations, and we're changing.
Primer changed the law.
And changed the law as well. Yeah.
It got.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Suzie saying that she had, and Rosamund's had judges write to her and saying,
"Wow,
in light of watching your performance in Inter Alia, I'm going to judge. I'm going to sentence differently. I will be considering what you raised in that production when I sentence." And that's massive. Not only, that's just one aspect of people's lives that is changed, but the conversations are the big one. People going home and having conversations is priceless.
Yeah. Just yeah. It's like this moment now, I'm just thinking like that's how I reminded of when I walked out the theatre. It was like, and I feel very lucky, and I just want to get this on record. If you do get another show in London, let me know, because I want to come and see you do it. Yeah,
I will.
Yeah, and get me a ticket as well. Don't worry, I'll pay you back. But
no probs.
No,
I'm sure I'll have loads of returns.
No, don't be silly. No, I won't be stingy, I promise. But but seriously, if you do get a show when you're in London, please do let me know. I'd love to come and see your version of it as well, because you hear
it's
things
quite different. It is quite different.
Oh
I can't imitate Rosamund. That would be lazy.
You're not, nor should you. You're your own person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Rosamund's
So
got
my
her
Jessica's a
take.
bit different. Yeah,
Yeah, we've got the
yeah,
Rosamund version, which is brilliant. We've also got the Flora version, which I'm sure is brilliant as well. But when I come and see you do it, I'll be like, okay, yeah, we'll go for a drink afterwards as well. But
yeah.
yeah, I think that'd be amazing. But just before we get to the last two questions, do you think, and obviously that there's so many different things there. There's the part, there's everything we've talked about today. You mentioned the loneliness, like Danny mentioned as well. This whole experience, what do you think it's given you, and what will it leave behind?
Oh, fearlessness. N- nothing I don't think can be as big as this, as understudying this role. So I think, yeah, I'll never be scared of the scale of a part ever again, because I don't think you can do a scarier part than this. So I'm looking forward to hopefully being more fearless in my career in the future. Because honestly, if you'd asked me even a year ago if I thought I could do this, I would have said no.
Mm.
Let that be a lesson to you. We can do really hard things.
We can, and it's shows like this that show us it is possible more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, Flora, thank you so much for today.
Thank you,
It's
Oliver.
been I've loved this chat. It's been so deep
Same.
and so we talked about a lot of things, yeah, and but that's what this play conjures up, and this is how we change the world. We start with having the difficult conversations, but it leads to brighter horizons, and yeah. I mean, I suppose. Are you going to understudy on Broadway as well?
It can't take us.
Huh?
There's rules with things coming over from Broadway and things going to Broadway.
Uh-huh.
They can only take 50% of the cast.
Ah,
It's okay. It's a shame, but it's okay. I think that it's exciting that another actress will get this challenge.
mm,
And maybe there's a British actress out there that's
maybe.
desperately seeking a juicy theatre role. Well, she's going to get it.
Yeah.
And she's going to have a wild, wild time.
Oh,
She can
gonna
look
love
me
it.
up on Instagram if she's stressed and
Yeah.
give me a call.
Yeah, listen to this.
Yeah, but that's not meant for me. If it had been, great, but it's not. So hopefully a door here will open because I'm not there.
Yeah. Of course it will. Of course it will. It's the universe. That's what it does.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it does. I've just got two quick questions left for you, Flora, before we finish. So first of all, what would you say was a bit of advice you wish you heard when you were starting out?
Oh, I thought a lot about this. And it's sort of only taken until the last few weeks to realize it doesn't have to be perfect.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
No. And I think people, especially in musical theatre, a tap step can be perfect. A riff can be perfect. There's like a thing. It's like you hit the note. You did the tap step perfectly and I heard all the beats. That line in your dance was perfect. You hit your arm was in the right place. Your leg was in the right place.
Yeah.
It is so different in acting. And it's taken me this long to realize that. And what I had to surrender to with this part is that, of course, it wasn't going to be perfect because I'd had barely any rehearsal, So I'm probably, and as I did, I opened the wrong cupboard at one moment, and to get something out, and then I had to quickly go to a different. Of course, it wasn't going to be perfect, and it is never perfect with Ros, and that's amazing because it's so electric and it's so alive and present. But part of me was like striving for perfection because I'd grown up in this dance world where, a ballerina's line can be right or wrong. a pirouette can go right or wrong, whereas a play is not that. And there's beauty in it too. So yeah, stop trying for perfection.
Yeah, it's not possible. No matter how
No.
hard you try,
No.
it's not possible. And you're just wasting your time in the most respectful way possible. You're wasting your time.
Yeah. And there's excitement in when things are not exactly how you wish they went as well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And also it creates memories as well. You're like, oh, do you remember that night when we opened the wrong cupboard and it took us a while to find the gloves? It was like, yeah. And then,
Totally.
it's the best memories, isn't it? And I think you've probably answered this question already, but what would you say has been an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to now that you'll never, ever forget?
But yeah, we've talked about like coming up out of the stage and coming out of stage door, all of those things.
That's a moment, man. That is a
It
moment.
was a moment, and thank God people were filming it because I had no memory of it. I was really overwhelmed. But I think like other little, and they're not like clear memories, but they're just little snaps of stuff. When I got my first play, my agent at the time called me, I was on holiday with my ex-husband and his family. And I remember getting that phone call and having a really overwhelming feeling that this job was going to change my life. And I had no idea to the capacity, but I just was like, I felt myself navigate and change direction in that moment. And I look back and think like, if I hadn't changed direction at that moment, there is no way I would have been playing Jessica Parks in Inter Alia. No way. So yeah, that. And then I had, do you know Bradley Whitford? Do you know of Bradley Whitford, the actor? He's in West Wing, Handmaid's Tale, Get Out. He's phenomenal.
Yeah, sounds very familiar. Yeah.
He was at my show
Mm.
to see Rosamund, but didn't know he wasn't going to be seeing Rosamund. Anyway, he came and found me afterwards, and I don't really remember the conversation, but I just remember he was very lovely. And one way or another, got my email and sent me an email. And yeah, I just think like that, having that is going to be really useful in those dark times, in the moments of self-doubt, when inevitably in 6 months' time and I haven't had a tape in ages and I'm not working and I'm worrying if I'm ever going to work again. But but it's real, that those times happen. I've always got that bloody email now. And actually a friend printed it onto a tea towel for me.
Perfect.
Because she was like, that is something you should look at every day. Because he went into detail about, I've been an understudy, I know what it's like, but the way you did X, Y, and Z, and this, that, and the other, impressed myself and my wife so much, blah, blah, blah. Such a classy email. But now I have it on a tea towel. and now I can go, Papa, you did that though. Yes, you've had no for the last 6 things you auditioned for, but you did that. So it is possible. And like hold on to that feeling of achieving something beyond what you thought you could do. Yeah. So that's like a very recent cool thing that I've got.
Yeah. Saying welcome to Inter Alia.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. I might steal that idea, by the way.
The tea towel. It's genius, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
She said it, she lived in America and she said it in passing on a voice note and I sort of forgot. And then a few days later I turned up to work. It's a tea towel on my desk, which was just brilliant.
That's a really cool. I might do that actually. Yeah, that's a cool idea.
I've actually got it right here.
Oh yeah. Let's have a look.
It's even got a very cute little.
Yeah. Can you read it out? I mean,
yeah. Oh. It's very nice. It's a very, very, yeah. And he said at the end, I hope we get to work together someday. Yes, please, Bradley Whitford. He's one of the, he does stuff that changes people's lives. I think about, growing up watching The West Wing. It's what got me engaged in politics. And then he was in Handmaid's Tale, which again got me more engaged in politics, made me become a feminist. That's what art is about. Waking people up, and that's the kind of stuff he does. He's doing The Diplomat at the moment, which is another show that's like
big,
opening people's eyes and getting people engaged. Pretty cool. I love him.
I mean, to get something like that is
so nice.
And it goes shows that I've got an idea for my own tea towel. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay. I remember when I was doing the podcast, and I was just I was lucky enough to speak to some incredible people, and just sort of going along with it. It's kept me busy since drama school, rather than just emailing agents constantly and be like, "Hello, I'm here. Please represent me." And I thought, no, I don't want to be that desperate fool anymore. So, but I was very lucky with the show. It made me realize how lucky I am to have it and to have these conversations and keep involved in the business one way or another. And anyway, so I was going along with it, doing things, blah, blah, blah. I got Justin and I interviewed him, and I released it. And then I got a message from someone in Australia called Jan. And she said, "Oh, loved your episode with Justin." And I was like, "Oh, wow, thank you for that. That was amazing." And he said, and she said, "Have you thought about interviewing like Georgia Bird, who I mentioned earlier?" So I was like, who's that? She was like, the stage manager for Primo. And I thought, great. Yeah, okay. So I got her on. Great talk. She's been on again recently, and I just put it out there on Instagram saying, "Oh, new episode's live. Georgia talking about front facing and stage management." And then I got a notification saying someone shared your story, and I was like, "Okay," which happens quite a bit. Someone mentioned you in their story. I was like, "Okay, cool. Who's this?" And I opened it up. It was Jodie Comer, and I was like. And so believe you me, I checked to make sure it was her account.
It was the official account. Yeah,
because she gets 101 fan accounts and everything. So I just wanted to be absolutely sure. And it was hers. And so I was like, okay, screenshot. This is evidence. So I got the screenshot of her putting it on her story, and
amazing.
She shared George's second one actually on there as well. And I got a screenshot of that as well. So that's so I might put that on a tea towel, two different sides.
Well, just wait for all the other ones you're going to get.
Well,
because there'll be loads more. So then you can have a tea towel with like 12.
I'll have a rack of them. Yeah.
Totally. I do think, I mean, especially Jodie, she's a real one, isn't she? Like, it's those kind of people that keep your faith in the industry,
Yeah.
Like, I put a post up about the play that Rosamund wrote the most lovely comment on. They get it. Like, it means a lot to people. I'm sure Jodie loves Georgia and wants to help promote her, and loves the idea of supporting someone's up and coming business as a podcaster. Like, it's small things to them, but huge to us, and they know that. And yeah, it's just really classy. I think
it was. And
people do that.
I'll always be grateful to Jodie for that as well. I was hoping to see her in Liverpool actually when I was lucky enough to catch the last stretch of the tour for Primer in Liverpool.
Amazing.
I'm very, very lucky.
I never got to see it live. I wish I'd seen it live.
No, don't worry. It was amazing. I'm not going to go on about it too much, but it was a moment I'll never forget. And unfortunately, she didn't come out to the stage door afterwards. The times I did go, but don't worry, I completely understand. I mean, she's probably exhausted, and
I can't.
She's like, "Do you know what? Thank you so much, everyone, but I need to go home and sleep." And I think I was lucky enough to be there for the last performance in Liverpool. So I think that was the last performance she did, wasn't it? Yeah. Wow. Again, very, very lucky, but. I imagine Georgia came out and said, "Sorry guys, she's not coming out tonight." And I was like, I totally get it. I'm actually sending her a subconscious message to her. I was in that moment going, "Go and get drunk. Just go and get drunk, Jodie. Just enjoy your night, and go and celebrate what you've done.
Yeah.
It's like the last outing of it as well. You know? But I mentioned that story again because it just gave me a little nudge. Again, the universe going, see, you're onto something here, man. You're onto something. And I was
Right?
like, okay, this isn't a hobby anymore. This is serious. This is serious now.
Yeah.
And that's a
You've
moment.
got it in lights.
Yeah, I do.
It's a real thing.
Yeah, I suppose if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for Jodie sharing that, I wouldn't have this set up, you know, the show where it is now and where I want to continue to push it and everything, and in between, and again having brilliant conversations with people like yourself, you know, and it's a privilege. And but honestly, Flora, I could have you here for another 2 hours just talking about the play. I really
We
could.
should probably get on with our day, but
Yeah, no, I know. But there's so many things we can talk about. But I'd love to have you back. Let's do another one of these in the future. I think that would be great.
Yes.
And,
I'll get another interesting part and we can chat about that.
They're on their way. They're on their way for you.
Hopefully.
But yeah, no, I suppose the last thing to say is obviously best of luck with the rest of the run in London, and continue to look after yourself throughout the process. I know it's a very heavy and dense subject, but you're changing the world with people.
Absolutely.
With people of all ages, all genders, all different matter of life experiences, and it's brilliant. And of course, if you don't mind, say hi to Rosamund for me. And
I will.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And and thank you for your time today. Honestly, it's been a real joy, and thank you so much for your stories and everything. I've loved it. If you just hang on, I'll finish the recording, we'll have a tiny debrief, then we'll shoot back to our days. And wow, lost for words. That was brilliant, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast. I'll be back very, very soon. And Flora, you're incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.